UFC 275 Teixeira versus Prochazka just took place, and I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main events, giving my reaction and breakdown to every single fight on the card, and my overall event recap as well. I did not do great with predictions on this card, but it was an amazing card anyway. Let's start straight away with the early prelim opener of Joselyne Edwards versus Ramona Pascual. No controversy here. In all honesty, I guess you can give the first round to Ramona Pascual because she did kind of hurt Joselyne Edwards at the end of the round, so I don't mind that round going towards her. One judge had 30-27. Now, don't get me wrong, Joselyne Edwards did really outstrike Ramona Pascual in that round. However, I can see it going the way of Ramona Pascual. She came closer to finishing. She landed the better shots that did the more damage. But round 2 and 3... no controversy whatsoever. Joselyne Edwards just dominated. The cake on display in this matchup was very enjoyable, but this was a decent scrap. I mean, it wasn't very technical, but Joselyne Edwards has a really good front kick to the body, and she front kicked the body of Ramona Pascual. I'm not even joking, maybe about 80 times in this matchup. I mean, she just kept front kicking against Ramona Pascual, and to be fair, Ramona Pascual just kept walking into it, so you can't blame Joselyne Edwards. I picked her to win by unanimous decision, 29-28 or 30-27, and she got the job done by exactly that. Close first round, could have gone either way. Maybe should have gone towards Ramona Pascual, but rounds 2 and 3 were clear as day. Ramona Pascual had no answer whatsoever. Joselyne Edwards showed great takedown defense, improved takedown defense, and just kept front kicking Ramona Pascual in the stomach, and that was the story of the fight. We move on to the next fight up the card, which was Silvana Juarez versus Liang. I picked Liang to win using some grappling. She didn't even get the grappling off in any way whatsoever. She failed a couple of takedowns. Silvana hit the back of her head a couple of times, but whatever. It didn't really change the outcome of the fight. Such a striking difference between the pair of them. Silvana Juarez. It's annoying that she's that old. I believe she's about 36 years of age, born in 1984. 34 maybe. I don't know how old that makes her. Sorry, my maths is completely off because it's 9 a.m. and I have no idea what I'm talking about. But Silvana Juarez landed an amazing combination, and it was a really, really good win for her, man. A really, really clean performance. Went out there, got the first round KO. I believe she won a 50k performance bonus as well. She's 37, sorry. My brain is all over the place. I've been up all night. It's currently nearly 10 a.m. and I'm still going. But a really good performance by Silvana Juarez. Combination punches to get the finish. And it wasn't just a TKO, it was like a real women's KO. Put away Liang brutally in the first round. She's definitely got some momentum moving forward. Hopefully she stays active because at 37, it's not looking like she's going to climb towards the belt, but she's very good. Underrated. Moving on to another fight that took place up the card, which was Kang versus Dana Batgerel. Now, Dana Batgerel versus Kang was a very close fight. Dana Batgerel actually ended up outlanding Kang in the first and second round quite significantly, but Kang was landing a lot of jabs. He was causing the visible damage on Dana Batgerel as well. He was landing some jabs to the face a lot in that fight, a lot of straight right hands as well, a lot of good calf kicks in that fight, and it was just sort of the visible damage that Kang was causing on Dana Batgerel, even though Batgerel landed more significant strikes and some big shots of his own, and maybe could have got it. It was a very close fight. It went the way of Kang. No problem with that whatsoever. He won the third round pretty clearly. And the second round was close, but I thought he showed more visible damage. You know what I mean? You could see it on Dana Batgerel that he was taking the damage. Kang looked relatively unscathed in that matchup. Plus, I'm glad that Kang won that matchup because Dana Batgerel need him square in the face as a grounded opponent. And the referee did nothing about it. He straight up kneed Kang in the side of the head, not square in the face, as a grounded opponent. And the ref just said, whatever, get on with it. Keep going. Keep fighting. So good for Kang. Dana Batgerel was being very dirty. And he paid for it. And Kang coming back after a bit of time off, like he's, you know, he didn't look good against Rani Yahya, but he looked very comfortable in there against Dana Batgerel. Showed a good jab, good calf kick, very close fight. I thought Dana Batgerel was going to wipe the floor with him, but Dana Batgerel is kind of a one-trick pony, in all honesty. He lands the KO blow. If he doesn't, he's pretty mediocre at this point. I don't think I'll be picking him moving forward. Moving on, up the card to another great fight that took place, which was Brendan Allen versus Jacob Malkoun. again, this is what we talk about with the Shevchenko versus Santos scorecards. Alan did more damage. He wins the fight. It's tough to see because Jacob Malkoun had more control time. He ended up on top at the end of the round 1. Brendan Allen went for a guillotine in round 1, but he didn't really get it, and it wasn't really a tight guillotine, so I wouldn't even call it a submission attempt, but it surely looked good for the judges that he even went for one. Jacob Malkoun just didn't do enough damage in round 1. He got outlanded 15-10 on significant strikes, got outlanded in the total strikes as well when they were on the ground, and they ended up giving it to Brendan Allen. When they were in the clinch and Jacob Malkoun had his back, Allen was sort of elbowing him in the back of the face, punching him in the back of the face when he was on the ground, landing some pretty vicious elbows on him in round 1, and that's where they gave him the edge in against Jacob Malkoun. Jacob Malkoun's grappling looked good. He just needs to learn the rules of MMA. You've got to do damage in these positions. You can't get out damaged. It's solely based on damage. That's why they gave it to Shevchenko over Santos. Unless you've got a bunch of really good submission attempts, which Malkoun barely had any of whatsoever, you're not going to get the score if you're just getting outlanded and outdamaged in a matchup. That's just simply how it goes. Allen clearly won the third. Malkoun clearly won the second, in my opinion. It was very close, but Malkoun edged it out with control time and more total strikes on the ground. And yeah, that's the story of the fight. Brendan Allen, better shots on the feet, good leg kicks, good straight right hands. Sort of stunned Malkoun a bit. Malkoun landed a couple of good jabs here and there in the performance, but while they were in the clinch and while they were grappling, Allen smacked him with some elbows and punches, and that wins fights. You got to do damage. Get used to it, grapplers. It's how it's going to be from now on. Jacob Malkoun, also his takedown was like a drag, and Brendan Allen's was a big hip toss throw over the top reversal, and that looks way cooler for judges, so I think that factored in a little bit as well. Allen barely gets the win. Honestly, I wouldn't have minded if it went to Malkoun. I wouldn't be saying robbery. It's just, would they focus on pure damage-based scoring? If they did, Brendan Allen won. Very, very close, though. 2-2 so far on the card for myself. Moving on. Maheshate versus Steve Garcia. Amazing first round KO. He knocked down Steve Garcia immediately with some big shots. Garcia started landing some in almost, I think he got a takedown nearly at one point and ended up landing some punches against the cage on Maheshate and doing quite good there. Steve Garcia looked like he knew he was going to get KO'd in that fight. And it's the same thing that Jacob Malkoun did against Phil Hawes. He just rushed in like, please KO me, in a way. It was very unfortunate for him. Like, he really was not in a good mental space going into that fight because he rushed in, charged forward against Maheshate, and just left himself completely open, but it was a very well-timed, tight right hook, no wind-up whatsoever, just placed it in there like Adrian Yanez. If you've ever seen one of his KOs where he just plants that straight right hand on Gustavo Lopez, it was an amazing performance, and that's what it reminded me of, a tight check hook counter, no fat in the movement whatsoever, just a really well-placed shot, and Maheshate scored an amazing KO and got a performance of the night bonus. Very good job from him. A great win from Maheshate. He's got some hype behind him now. Very young guy. I'd say take a little bit of time, develop, because it's not an easy division to move up in so quickly, but he looked good. Very good performance from him. Moving on up the card, Josh Culibao versus Seung Choi. I went with Seung Choi. Seung Choi here. And here's where the beginning of my salt fest began. Okay? So I'm going to remove my judgment. Joshua Culibao looks really good. He's a very good striker. My take was on this matchup. They're going to have a striking match. And Joshua Culibao, when he was a teenager, was morbidly obese playing video games. And Seung Choi was a national Muay Thai champion multiple times over. So I assumed, and I'm sorry for assuming this, guys, that the multiple-time national Muay Thai champion would outstrike a guy who can kind of scrap that picked up MMA to lose weight. I guess I was wrong. He didn't really land any leg kicks, not really any body kicks, not really any good punches, and sure, he did good in numbers to keep up and make it competitive, but Joshua Culibao landed the better shots, and when they traded in the pocket, Culibao was landing the better, crisper shots, beating him to the punch. Much more power than Seung Choi had. Choi actually ended up getting rocked once and then just sort of brawling forward and scrapping for his honor against Josh Culibao in the first round. He did the same thing in the second round as well, trying to get it back for himself. Almost got KO'd in the process, but yeah. Josh Culibao got it done. Didn't expect it. He's very impressive. And he genuinely is a threat moving forward in the featherweight division. Jourdain's pretty lucky to get a draw against him. So, very good performance by Josh Culibao. He's got a good future at featherweight. He looked good. It's difficult to beat Seung Choi at striking. I knew it was a striking-only matchup. National Muay Thai champion multiple times over. Josh Culibao, scrapper from Western Sydney. I guess those Western Sydney boys know how to throw down. Ish A from the area A. Moving forward. Up the card. Jack Della Maddalena versus Ramazan Emeev on the main card. Oh my god, amazing. This is what really kicked off the greatness on the card, in my opinion. Jack Della Maddalena had a star-making performance against Ramazan Emeev. It really was spectacular, okay? It really was. He went out there. He was in a real bad situation immediately into the fight. Ramazan Emeev, they were both sort of getting their timing on the feet, looking a little bit sloppy here and there, landing some jabs on each other, some decent shots on each other here and there. And then Ramazan Emeev gets his takedown on Jack Della Maddalena. Maddalena tries to sort of like roll out of it and end up on top. It doesn't end up working. He ends up in an awkward position on the ground. And as they're both scrambling back up to their feet, Ramazan Emeev latches up a dash choke, sinks it in, rolls for it, ends up putting Jack Della Maddalena in a horrible position. However, the angle that Maddalena was in, it wasn't one where he couldn't move. You know what I mean? Normally when you're in a dash choke, you're on your side, you're on your back. The guy's got a little bit of a moment on top of you as he's got you in the dash. You're sort of, the added pressure from the dash is from the chest. You know what I'm saying? There's a video online of Joe Rogan and TJ Dillashaw walking through this. When they get your back of the head in their chest, and it adds a lot of tightness to that dash choke. Emeev never had that on Jack Della Maddalena. And that's how I knew he was okay in that position. And eventually, Jack Della Maddalena, I guess, held his breath, toughed it out a little bit. You can't submit Australians, apparently. Separated, broke the grip, clawed away the hand, found himself back up on his feet, blasted a knee to the face of Ramazan Emeev, and then proceeded to walk him down and viciously attack him with combinations and body shots, and puts away Ramazan Emeev in the first round. Great performance from him. Great prospect at welterweight. Listen, at the end of the day, Ramazan Emeev is a good recorded Dagestani. Sure, he's had some lackluster performances, but no one's put him away like that. I really don't think anyone's put him away like that. When I look at Ramazan Emeev's career, it's a win over Sam Alvey dominantly, who arguably could have beat Danaa Kyung at light heavyweight. You know what I'm saying? He beat Alberto Mina dominantly. He beat Stefan Sekulic dominantly. He lost to Rocco Martin in a very close fight, very slow fight, very patient fight. But he beat Nicolas Stolze, he beat David Zawada. He lost to Danny Roberts, got completely robbed in that matchup. He clearly won. And then Jack Della Maddalena is the first guy to completely embarrass him and destroy him. What an amazing performance. Amazing body shots from him. Jack Della Maddalena's on the come up at welterweight. Take some time. Take it slow. No need to rush. Let's move him forward one step at a time. He could be something big because the crowd goes crazy for him. He's definitely got a fan base back home in Australia. So if Volk beats Holloway and wants to come back quick against someone, I'd say tie in that Australian audience vibe for Jack Della Maddalena. Or maybe put him at Paris, seeing as Tuivasa's going to be there. Who knows? We move on up the card. Maddalena got a 50k bonus as well. A lot of people got 50k bonuses this card. We move on to Jake Matthews versus Andre Fialho. Wow. I thought if Jake Matthews won, he'd get a sub in the later rounds. Or he'd take down Andre Fialho and do some work there. He looked really good. Really good. He chopped the calf early on. I thought that, like Jake Matthews hasn't been in for over a year. Andre Fialho's been in 3 times this year. He fought last pay-per-view card. He's back again. I thought Fialho was going to be switched on early, coming in, landing the bigger shots, taking advantage of a jittery Jake Matthews and putting him away. But Jake Matthews looked great. He looked really amazing. I think he can beat a lot of guys at welterweight. Like, I didn't like Jake Matthews' chances against some of those higher unranked level guys and even the ranked level guys. After that performance, that was and this is a card where it's hard to really, say this. That might have been the performance of the card. Jake Matthews looked amazing. And I said it sarcastically because I was salty that I was losing picks. But he genuinely did look really, really good. In the second round especially, when he warmed into the fight a bit. The first round, he was winging big. He was missing some shots. Fialho was landing a couple of decent shots as well. Matthews would tag him with a big shot and stumbling backwards a bit, but Fialho would stay composed. And it was a bit of a sort of tit for tat, but Matthews was doing a little bit more in the first. Way more in the first, and he won the round because of it. Stumbled at the end. Wasn't really a knockdown, I guess. I kind of thought Fialho landed something and then Matthews sort of stumbled backwards. But either way, round 2. He didn't really miss. I know it says 55% striking accuracy. Maybe that was all at the start of the round. He started landing like every punch on Andre Fialho. Great timing, great speed. Boxing we've never seen. He took Diego Sanchez to a decision. Okay, like you go through Jake Matthews' career. He's had some lackluster ones. And this is a different guy. I thought, like he's come back after injuries. I don't know if he's going to develop. He truly did develop. He said in the build-up he's going to show new levels of boxing. Dude's boxing is on point. Lost to Sean Brady. Looked a little bit lackluster there. Beat Diego Sanchez, but didn't look too great in that fight. Barely beat Emil Meek, but took a lot of damage there. Emil Meek, you know what I'm saying? Like Rostam Akman, he kind of cruised to a decision there. Lost to Anthony Rocco Martin, got submitted there. Like, he's never really looked amazingly great in a fight. But this was a different guy, and he wants to stay active and fight in September. I don't know if they'll do Jack Della Maddalena versus Jake Matthews, but if they both want it, I don't think they're friends. So, they both had good performances with little to no damage. Let's get it going. I like an active Jake Matthews. I think he can be a real problem in the welterweight division. I'll probably end up picking him in his next matchup. But I don't know. It depends who it's against. He probably beats Della Maddalena right now. He looked amazing. Absolutely amazing. It's a shame for Fialho. He loses a lot of momentum here. Can't stay active anymore. Probably going to take about 3 months off, 4 months off. Come back in sort of like September, October-ish. We'll see. But yeah, Fialho. Still a fan favourite, but lost a lot of hype by being destroyed like that. Moving on. Up the card. Zhang Weili versus Joanna Jedrzejczyk. Zhang Weili retired her, showed amazing grappling improvement. I've made individual videos for all of these last few fights, so I'll keep it brief. Zhang Weili looked good. Wrestling improvement, utilized it amazingly in the first round. Things got a little bit tricky on the feet. She dominated on the ground against Joanna Jedrzejczyk, beat the hell out of her on the ground as well with massive elbows, massive punches, over and over again. Beat her to every single scramble, won the dominant position, stayed higher up, kept a great weight advantage over her on the ground, and kept good position and good weight placement to keep Joanna Jedrzejczyk down, who's very difficult to keep down, even for a girl like Shevchenko. And, well, I don't know if that even looks that good anymore, but either way. Zhang Weili looked great. On the feet, Joanna Jedrzejczyk started to warm up in the second and have some moments of her own and land some decent shots on Zhang Weili, and she even knocked her off balance with a leg kick in round 1. And she had some moments to show that, she still kind of got it. But you can't train grappling after 2 years off if you're lounging around on a beach. Zhang Weili's been training for championship level bouts. And sure, was the spinning back fist a little bit goofy and, interesting to throw, and will it happen 9 out of 10 times? Probably not, but it happened. Spinning back fist lands with the forearm square on the jaw of Joanna Jedrzejczyk, and it puts her out cold badly, and Joanna Jedrzejczyk retires. I do believe Zhang Weili's going to beat Carla Esparza, and for Joanna Jedrzejczyk, go retire. Toodle pip. Moving on up the card. Valentina Shevchenko versus Taila Santos. I've spoken about the decision. I do think Shevchenko won. She did more damage in rounds 1, 2, 4, and 5. Landed more shots. You've got to do more than just one submission attempt a round if you're going to get punches non-stop in your face and get outlanded 234 to 128. That's just how it is. But I will say this about the performance. I'm going to give Taila Santos more props than I gave her for this version, because I've already roasted the decision that I think should have been to Shevchenko, and people think it was a robbery, but I think Shevchenko won clearly. Taila Santos looked good. I will say there's always a problem with women's MMA fighters against Shevchenko. They never want to commit to punching her or like doing anything on the feet to her. So you're going to have to beat her in the grappling if you're going to beat Valentina Shevchenko. That's your main area of success that you can go for. And that's what Taila Santos tried to do. Jennifer Maia tried to do it. It's the way to beat Shevchenko. I think if she moves up and fights Juliana Pena, and Pena looks good against Nunes again and wins, I think Pena probably beats her this time round and doesn't get subbed, because she's more improved, she's way bigger, and she can muscle her around a bit. Taila Santos looked good. She took the back well. She won the scrambles. It was just interesting to me to finally see, and this is kind of what we saw with Pena and Nunes. Nunes finally met someone who was willing to try and win and face her back a little bit and throw shots back at her and grit down and go with her. Whereas everyone else looked terrified, like Megan Anderson. Froze up. Ugh, just taking shots and going down. Whereas Santos actually did just acceptable grappling exchanges. Like, if she got rolled, she rolled with it and used the momentum to get back to her knees and get her hips high. And used that to try and get the back. It was just all of a sudden, someone's doing something correct against Shevchenko. And that's enough to now make her start losing rounds and perceivably losing the fight to some people. Like, it's crazy in women's MMA how this can happen, but eventually a woman starts actually looking like a decent MMA fighter, and she starts giving some problems to the dominant champ, who maybe wasn't so dominant and instead was just the only good one. Strange how these things work out, but Taila Santos looked good, just didn't do enough damage. I can't give it a fight on that. Moving on to the main event, Jiri Prochazka versus Glover Teixeira. Wow. Absolutely crazy performance. Glover Teixeira, in my opinion, was winning. I actually see a chance at a 2-2, and I don't mind the idea of a 10-8 in round 3. People are massively against that. They have this narrative that Glover was dominating. Glover was not dominating that fight. That's what I'll talk about in this one. I've spoken about how great it was and all the great moments of both of them. Round 1 was clearly Glover. Didn't do enough for a 10-8 round. Jiri Prochazka escaped some bad positions, had some little moments of his own, and showed good takedown defense here and there. But Glover dominated the round and won it pretty clearly. Not enough for a 10-8 though, just a clear win for Glover. Round 2. Jiri actually outlanded him 36-27. I don't know if that's the official number, but he did keep up or outland him in round 2 on damage. He landed a lot of shots on Glover Teixeira, did good himself, had moments on top here and there, but eventually Glover Teixeira would end back up on top, win the scramble, find his way back into a good position, and have a submission attempt, and stuff like that, or win a reversal and end up on top and have more control time, total strikes, and stuff like that, and Glover would end up winning the round. He also cut open Jiri Prochazka in that round as well, which was visible damage. 10-9 to Glover Teixeira, clear again, but closer than the first. Round 3, Jiri did dominate Glover in that round. More than Glover did in round 1 against Jiri, I would say. Like, Jiri did genuinely have Glover in real trouble against the cage, piecing him up, body shots, front kicks to the body at range, leg kicks at range, big lead uppercuts. I think he rocked him on the feet on a couple of occasions in that round. Jump knee landed, he stuffed the takedown, ended up on bottom for a bit, but popped right back up. Landed some big shots, rocked Glover again, hurt him to the body. Glover shot a bad takedown, Jiri sprawled it, ended up on top, big ground and pound, looking for the finish. I actually thought he was going to get the finish at one moment, because Glover was just getting smacked on the ground by Jiri. So much so that Jiri, I believe, broke his left hand, as he said, from that ground and pound. 10-8 could have been possible, but Jiri goes for a sub attempt, arm triangle, and played the jiu-jitsu that he said he wouldn't, and Glover reverses it, ends up on top. And that's enough to kind of say, okay, maybe not a 10-8 round, because Glover ended up on top and did a couple of punches at the end. If Glover never had that reversal, it's very clearly a 10-8 round. Moving on to round 4. Very close round again. Glover doing better on the feet this time, for the first time in the fight. Jiri also doing good on the feet. Both guys landing big shots. Jiri goes in, lands some big shots. Glover's lands some big shots back. Jiri stumbles. They end up on the ground. They're scrambling all over the place. Glover's on top in side control. Every time Glover ended up on top, I said to myself, it's over. Glover's going to sub him. And Jiri found his way out of stuff. And Glover didn't do much damage on top in that round. A couple total strikes to the body and stuff like that. Jiri kept tapping him and slapping him, but he wasn't in submission positions or getting TKO'd, so you can't say he was tapping. But he kept slapping Glover, like, tsh, tsh, tsh. Like, don't do that, dude. Because that's like Randy Couture slapping the ass of, I can't remember what his name was. Ortiz was the guy, right? He was slapping his ass in that fight, and I was like, dude, that could be seen as a tap. Watch out. But round 4, Jiri ended up on top at the end, landed some big shots, but the arm triangle from Glover and how Jiri rolled out of it and escaped and came back up, like, it was just mental. The whole fight was momentum swing after momentum swing. And in round 5, Jiri gets overconfident on the feet, in my opinion, starts doing his like water stuff and entering the flow state and all of this stuff that he was doing and all this and, you know, moving around and throwing a lead hook for nothing and feinting a front kick. Like, he was doing a whole lot of nonsense in round 5. And he got checked for it by Glover. Big shots from Glover, rock him badly. More big shots, rock him again. Jiri's still moving. Glover lands more shots. Jiri's really badly rocked. He shoots a takedown. Glover has an option. Get taken down. Hope that you stay on top. Or, like, get back on top. Pull a guillotine. Worst option. Always the worst option. Always the worst option in an MMA fight. Pulling guillotines in the light heavyweight and heavyweight division and putting yourself on bottom. Stupidest thing you can possibly do. Or try and sprawl it. But I think the takedown was actually pretty good from Jiri. So Glover said, I'm not going to try and work my way back up from being on bottom. I'm going to try and guillotine him. So at least I have a submission attempt on the way down. Lack of judgment. Wasn't the best decision. But then Jiri lets him back up, which I thought was very interesting. He should have stayed on top and thrown some ground and pound. But I guess he was rocked. And he didn't want to be on the ground with Glover while rocked and risk getting armbarred or something like that. So Glover got back up, landed more good shots on him. But then Jiri, on bottom, got taken down. A minute left. Uses all of his energy that he has. Flips himself over from the cage. Ends up on top, landing big shots. Sinks in the rear naked choke and out goes Glover. Taps away with 30 seconds left. An amazing performance by Jiri Prochazka. Really good from him. Got fight of the night bonus. Amazing. Like and subscribe. A great card overall. It's always the sleeper cards that end up doing amazingly, and this was another example of that. Great stuff. We've got a great champion now at light heavyweight. Toodle pip. Click that button up there. See you later. Goodbye.